Do you know what I really despise about politics? That a lot of people absolutely love the bread and circus, and they genuinely do not know when there is circus. Like for instance, right now with the Romanian election, the press is absolutely hysterical, and even in my comment section, I saw it's like, oh, if you vote for this president, it's like Satan himself. Like you don't understand, he supports this, he said that, and you're a traitor to Romania if you vote. Right? Like democracy is when you go and you vote, and if you vote for one person, you're the traitor. All right, fine. Assuming that you actually know what a president can do, like there are certain things that he says he will, but he literally can't, right? Like just because you're president doesn't make you dictator. There's a constitution, there's a parliament, and even then, that is impeachment, you fucking morons. Like if you have a president that's unhinged, you can fucking impeach him. Jesus Christ, I so despise like this whole talking point. Is like, sorry, no, Romania has elections, and it seems like there's two candidates. For some reason, there are people that support one candidate, and they're still the same people, right? Like they're still really. The other ones are mentally unhinged. Like I'm looking at the forums, they're absolutely demented, like a radicalism that goes beyond normal. Kind of like the Democrats in the U.S., I guess. Now you also have a similar situation in Germany, right, with the AFD, and everyone is talking about, oh my goodness, the AFD is going to leave the European Union. I mean, I kind of wish, because the bureaucracy would finally end. Like that would be nice. Imagine if nation states would set upon their own rules without having someone from Brussels that get paid around 10,000 euros a month to dictate how the farmer in Luxembourg should operate. Wouldn't that be nice? But no, we're not going to have that. Because they can't do it. Like, physically speaking, from a scale of 0 to 100%, the chance of them pulling them off is less than 5. And the reason for this is that people do not understand how the German system actually works. And the people who made the European Union, despite what you believe, they were actually incredibly smart people. And they also have safeguards in place for this shit not to happen. So, in order for the EU to actually have Germany leaving, you would need to have the AFD win a colossal number of votes. Now let's say that they actually pull it off. They would also have to either change the German constitution in order to make amendments to allow Germany to leave the EU, or they would have to run a referendum. And I think that's how they will do it. They will probably run a referendum. Will they get the votes for the referendum? Like they would have to be fighting against the deep state, against the civil society. And again, like the thing is, it's not that they would have to win. They would have to win with such an overwhelming scale that I don't think they have the numbers. I haven't seen any polling that would suggest this. Now I'm not saying it's impossible. Like, don't get me wrong. And again, I despise the bureaucracy. Every single year, new legislation, new restrictions. Like, can anyone tell me? Like when you ask someone, like, what is good about the European Union? Well, you can travel through Europe. And it's like, that's great, but can we do that without a bureaucracy? Like, what's to stop Poland and Romania negotiating just travel agreements so you can travel with the ID? Like why do we need other legislation? Because, like, you're looking at the EU, you got farmer protests, you got the GDPR rules that make us unable to have our own social media. All the manufacturing is coming from China. You got the military being provided by the United States. And it's like, okay, but like, what is Europe doing? Exactly. So, like, I personally would like the bureaucracy. Like, I'm not against the cooperation of European states, but it's just like, don't understand why my taxpayer money is funding bureaucracy. Like, I'm already funding the Romanian government, and now I need to fund the European Union as well, right? So, like, that would be my personal take. Like, I do not like the European Union, but despite that, I do not think that the AFD can pull Germany out of the EU. So, all these people that are going absolutely hysterical about it, my advice is to calm the fuck down. It's not going to happen. Now, again, if I'm proven wrong, and if it does happen, I will eat crow. I will be the first one. But the thing is, like, when I'm making predictions, people genuinely think that I'm making like a statement on what I wish, which is why I need to differentiate, right? Like, I wish this would happen, but my prediction is that it is not. And 4 years from now, you can come up and you can say, well, V, you were wrong. Look, they actually got Germany out of the EU. The alternative far right. I love the fact that they have to mention it. It's like the far right. You know, they never say like the far left party, the Grüne. Did you notice that? Do we even have like far left parties in Europe? Like, is this even a concept that exists? Are there any far left party? Die Linke, for instance? No? That we don't have. We have normal parties and the far right. All right. They plan to campaign on calls for the country to quit the European Union, the Paris Climate Agreement, and the euro currency ahead of the early election. I think they can actually pull off the Paris Climate Agreement. Like, I think they can pull off the euro currency, kind of difficult. Not that, I mean, it's actually even more difficult than leaving the EU, because, like, first you'd have to leave the EU, then you'd have to leave the euro currency. I don't even know what would happen, to be honest, with Germany. Like, there would be a period of great transition, and during that period, it depends what the government does. Like just leaving the European Union by itself isn't a good thing. We saw what happened to Britain. Like, if you leave the European Union, but you continue the same practices, you continue with the mass immigration, you continue with the environmentalism, like, you're still applying the same bureaucracy, but you just quit the EU, that's not going to improve anything. It's just going to maintain the same system, and you can just say, well, we left. It's like, okay. So the paper calls for a tightening of abortion laws, and to end the economic sanctions against Russia, and to repair recommissioning of the Nord Stream pipeline, which brought German gas from Russia. Like, you gotta understand, you know, like, a lot of people are like, oh, you're pro-Russia, you're anti-Russia. For the average person that doesn't live terminally online, they notice their way of life changing, right? Now, you can tell them, well, it's changing because you gotta fight for Ukraine, and they'll be like, well, hold on a little bit, I'm German. I'm just explaining, you know, like, for a Romanian, you can justify it a lot easier for people in Eastern Europe, and you can tell them where your way of life is going down. And they'll be like, well, why? Well, because Russia is going into Ukraine and is going to border us, you know, unless we do something about it. And people will be like, all right, well, that I can actually live a little bit longer with my lifestyle going down because I don't want to be drafted into some military compact, right? But if you're in Germany, the argument becomes a lot more difficult, more nuanced. So this is, like, you need to understand the geography when you're talking about Europe. It's not the ideology. Like, people don't care, oh, there's corruption in Ukraine, oh, there's democracy problems. They don't care about that. What they care about that is the region, right? So, like, Germany, for instance, was getting energy from Russia, was trading with Russia, and historically speaking, they did invade Poland together, you know? So, the German citizen has a different take on Russia than the Polish citizen. So, when the AFD says something like this, that they want to strengthen ties and rebuild the pipeline, it's going to be interesting. Like, it may not alienate voters. It may upset the Americans, because the Americans will be like, well, okay, well, hold on a little bit. Do you want to be in NATO or you don't want to be in NATO? Because if you want to be in NATO, then you can't take your energy independence from Russia. And if you don't want to be in NATO, then, well, leave the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Why are you doing it, right? Like, you gotta make a decision that makes sense, basically. So, yeah, like, the AFD, I don't know how they're willing to negotiate between the world superpowers, like, especially with the US, if they're going to be like, yeah, we're going to rebuild the pipeline. It's like, okay, but then build your own fucking military. Like, we're paying for your military right now. Well, is what the US is going to say. It's like, we're paying for your military, So come on, make a decision. To be honest, I don't think they can have a military. I don't know the treaty after World War II, right? So it would probably be like, if you don't want to be in NATO, that's fine. You can be the one nation in Europe without military. Well, it's not the one nation in Europe without military. I mean, there's Switzerland. You can be like Switzerland, like. But you can't deal with the Russians, and at the same time, it's not that you can't deal with the Russians. You can deal with the Russians. But to say that your entire energy sector of your nation is now dependent on Russia, and at the same time you want military protection from America, that's going to be interesting. Good luck talking that with Donald Trump. Good luck negotiating. Explain to Donald Trump. Sit at the table with him and explain to him how that's going to work out. There is no reason to restrict the use of coal, natural gas, oil. Humans cannot produce the climate carbon dioxide. The gas scientists say it's most responsible for climate. Yeah, I do agree with the fact that if your nation has coal, just so you can understand the climate madness in Germany, they close down their own coals and they import coals from other countries. And this is the environmentalists. Like the Greens decided to shut down their nuclear reactors. Like, at this point, even if you are a person that genuinely believes, unironically, like YouTube tells us, that climate change is man-made and it's real, right? Like YouTube tells us, and we believe that, what the government have done is such a sham. It's such an in-your-face that the public just can't believe it anymore. It's like, they're not serious about it. Like, you cannot say, all right, well, we're going to shut down our nuclear power, we're going to shut down our coal, we're going to take gas from Russia, we're environmental. No, shut the fuck up. It's not how it works, right? Like, you lost public credibility. It also proposed that pregnant women should be required to view ultrasound images of their child during counseling sessions with considering an abortion. See, like this is something that they tried to do in America, and everyone was horrified. And it's like, well, why though? Like, if you genuinely want to get an abortion, fucking look at the image. If you genuinely don't care about it, just look at the image and be like, yeah. Like, seriously, if I was there, if I was a woman, and I genuinely wanted it, right? And it's like, oh, look at the baby, yeah, can we get it out? Like, if you don't have that mindset, if you don't have that fit, why are you there? Huh? Like, what's the point of that? Like, either you want it or you don't. Why are you pussyfooting around the issue? Am I being too harsh? I don't know. Usually when I take decisions, I'm either like, yes, I'm willing to accept the consequence for my decision, or not. Simple. There's no middle line. It's like, I mean, you have time to think about it, don't you? So yeah, anyway, that's my take on it. I don't think that even if the AFD wins, I don't think they will pull Germany out of Europe, but I do think like they will cause a mindset. And like if it keeps going, then maybe the next elections they will. But it will at least try to plant the seeds of Euroscepticism. I think like the way it will work, like all empires crumble eventually. The European Union is not going to be there for like 500 years. I do think that it's going to be like smaller nations, right? Like Britain leaving, and then you're going to have another nation leaving, like probably from Eastern Europe, like Hungary, maybe Poland, like who knows? But it will take like a lot more nations to leave before Germany is going to be the one. I think like Germany may be like one of the last nations that leave, and it's simply because the oligarchs, the politicians, the people in Germany, they benefit financially from being in the EU. Like they have certain advantages. Again, there will be internal pressure. People in the parliament, their equivalent, what do they call it, the Bundestag or some shit like that? Yeah, they will oppose this, and there may be like even people within the AFD that will oppose it. Like they will say that they're for it, but like when push comes to shove, when the votes start happening, you'll see that I'm right. So let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.